I don't know if I'm more upset about this film in general or the fact that there were no egos for this Lego. We are talking today about the newest Lego movie, Piece by Piece, directed by Morgan Neville, and it's a biopic for Pharrell Williams, but in the style of Legos. Now, as someone who has never seen the first Lego movie, the second Lego movie, or the Batman Lego movie, this was my first entry into the Lego sphere, I guess. Legoverse. Legoverse. Now it just sounds like I'm saying Legolas has his own universe, which would be pretty cool. Let's talk about the categories of this film and give it a score. First, let's talk about acting. Animation's always hard to pinpoint, acting and what they do. But it's also even harder knowing that pretty much everyone is the real person, minus a few people here and there. That's even harder of a task to do. But at sometimes you understand why they do cast actors in these roles, because sometimes it can get a little bit bland. Now, it's really cool to hear these firsthand accounts from people like Jay-Z, Missy Elliott, Snoop Dogg, who give these testimonials about Pharrell Williams and his impact on the music world as a whole. But a lot of the times it definitely feels bland, but it also feels like it's more of a documentary rather than a straight up biopic. So it does struggle to kind of find its own voice because it's kind of right in the middle of both things, and it just struggles to get off its footing. That's why I got to give it half a star out of 1 within this category. Now we talk about visuals. Like I said, first entry into the Legoverse, and man, it's actually pretty cool and unique and beautiful, man. It's so interesting to see how they play with colors, how they play with the different pieces that Lego offers, and how the animation style really lends itself. I will give tremendous credit to the people who made this film because it probably wasn't easy. Animation isn't easy. Most films to make aren't easy. But this film succeeds so well when it comes to the visual aspects of everything. It's beautiful to look at, it's beautiful to watch. The transitions, the set design, the pure uniqueness of this film is hard to overlook. It's definitely a film that will have some ingrained visuals within your mind for the days to come because, wow, it's beautiful, it's stunning, and for that, I give it a 1 out of 1 in this category. Now, when it comes to the audio part of it, it's hard to overlook that we are talking about one of the greatest musical minds of this generation, right? This film basically gives you a whirlwind on his impact within the music industry, and you feel it. Songs that you probably didn't know were done by Pharrell Williams, you hear it in the freaking movie and you go, whoa, he did that? His diversity, his always wanting for improvement within his work lends itself well to the big screen because you get this whole giant playlist that's an hour and a half long of his greatest hits. The characters themselves, it's animation, so they were in the studio, they were able to get things done. It sounds beautiful. The additional effects to create the world and the environment, also really great. So knowing who they're talking about, knowing what they're talking about, it's a movie about a musician, so at least they got the audio part right. 1 out of 1 within this category. Unfortunately, that's the best news I have because it's about to go downhill very, very unfortunately. Because when it comes to the story itself, it definitely takes a hit because of 2 things. Number 1, the fact that it's a Lego movie. I get it. The Lego movie world, the Legoverse as I've coined it. I doubt I've coined it. I doubt that's probably the name of it. But the fact that it's a Lego movie, it's so hard to grasp kind of everything and get kind of emotional attachment to certain characters because at the end of the day, they're Lego pieces. Even though they're portraying real people in the real situations, it's hard to connect with a Lego piece, just for me. Just for me. But the biggest reason is by going the Lego route, it's definitely innovative. It's better than just doing a normal biopic because it shows a lot of creativity. It's a film about building basically a music empire piece by piece, right? But unfortunately, by going the Lego route, you then target your audience towards more families and kids, which then causes the runtime to dramatically drop down and the content of it to incredibly drop down when it comes to stakes. Now I'm not talking about dangerous stakes. I'm just talking about emotional stakes, because this film lacks so many emotional beats that you would have gotten if this film was probably closer to 2 hours. This film literally feels like if you put a cinder block on a Lamborghini's gas and it just took off and doesn't stop. And that's how this film feels. You start it, you understand how he falls in love with music, and then it just keeps going and going and going and going and doesn't stop. With some films, it works because that's what they're trying to go for. But when you're trying to create an emotional attachment, especially if you're not really into Pharrell Williams and you're trying to understand him as a human being, it's hard to create that emotional attachment to him because of how fast and how crazy paced this movie is. I found myself looking at my phone and going, wow, we're halfway through, but the lot's been told. Because it definitely goes from him as a kid to basically just today. Like, it takes his whole career and mashes it up into like an hour and 20, 25 minutes, hour and 30, right? And I don't know many people who can tell their whole life story, especially someone as important and as interesting as Pharrell Williams and what he's done in his life, in an hour and 30 minutes. So unfortunately, it paid big dividends by going in this cool visual unique route, but it also has this horrible dark side to the film that struggles to really slow down and get you to understand the characters, their emotions, and create that connection. Therefore, I will only give it a half a star out of 1 within this category. Now let's talk about enjoyment. Enjoyment really helps films like this who struggle in the story category at times, but for biopics, I love learning new things about people's lives. Now, of course, I did learn a lot about Pharrell Williams, especially of how he grew up. Pharrell Williams grew up with a lot of very, very influential musical people, and it's so impressive and important to understand that. But like I said in the past category, the story falls flat. One of the biggest reasons why it falls flat is there's a huge emotional moment that kind of takes a turn towards the end of the second act, probably with about 30 minutes left within the film, maybe even 20. And it definitely doesn't hit as hard as you want it to. And it sucks because it definitely changes the perspectives on characters, but you can't feel it because the film has gone at a fast pace that you kind of can't keep up and you can't kind of understand, and it just doesn't truly work for me. I truly wanted to absolutely love and adore this film. I walked in knowing that it was going to be a short runtime, but it lacks all the other things. Besides being visually and audibly appealing, the film lacks on a lot of very, very important things, and I have to dock it for that. So with the enjoyment category, half a star out of 1 within this category. So that means if you're keeping track at home, Piece by Piece earns a 3.5 out of 5. I think it's good.